everyone, it's Lulu. Welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I personally went through a few years ago back when I was in college. So how to get a software engineering internship without having any prior experience. And by prior experience, I mean like industry experience or like having side projects. So a little background. Why did I get into CS / how I got into computer science? So in high school, you know, like when you're applying for college apps, you're thinking about, hey, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And honestly, I didn't really know at that time, but for my whole life, I was thinking that I'd be like a pediatrician or something because one, I love kids, I love helping people. I'm like, wow, what a great combination. Like, let me be a pediatrician. But then junior year rolls around and I take AP Bio and I'm like, wow, this class sucks. I cannot do this for another like 10 plus years. So then I'm confused, like, what do I want to do for my life? Like, it's kind of scary in college. You pretty much have to decide what you want to do your entire life. So yeah, senior year rolls around and, you know, I haven't really made any decisions yet, but college apps are occurring. College apps are hip-hop and happening. So I'm applying to college and I'm like, okay, what do I want to do? Well, being an Asian kid also, I'm kind of limited on my career choices, you know, like doctor, lawyer, engineer, like finance. So I was thinking, okay, I would either go into computer science or like business / finance, just because growing up in the Silicon Valley, I'm like, okay, computer science, that's definitely gonna give me a job here, right? So it's the safe way to go. So that's kind of how my spiel of how I got into CS.
Hey, editing Lulu here. I just wanted to jump in and say that my parents' wishes and job security weren't the only reasons why I decided to do CS as a major. I don't think I would have been able to do 4 years of that just because of those reasons. Another part is that growing up, I always loved playing computer games, and I think that's where my fascination of computers began. So I thought CS was a good way to tie into that stuff. So yeah.
Okay, I'm reading off of I have a Google Docs written of like the stuff I want to talk about today because otherwise I'm gonna forget it all because there's a lot of stuff I want to go into. So college rolls around, right? And I decided to do computer science as my major. And pre-college, I have no experience with like coding at all whatsoever. Of course, like the year I graduate high school, like the year after, they decide to have AP computer science. So I went into college with zero experience. And in college, they taught us C and C++, pretty much like focusing on that the first years of college. Yeah, so freshman year I learned C and then C++, and then sophomore year I learned like Go, Prolog, and Lisp. Yeah, definitely not really great languages for side projects personally. Just not having a lot of experience and like limited knowledge of like CS put me in a tough spot where I couldn't really create any own like side project, and I didn't have a lot of ideas for what to do either. Yeah, I mean, if you know some like web dev language like CSS, JavaScript, HTML, it could be cool to create like your own website, but I had zero knowledge of that and I was wanting to chill freshman summer year. Could I have taught myself those languages? Yes, but I just got like wrecked through my first year of college of computer science, so I want to take a break, you know. Sophomore year rolls around and that's when I start like hardcore applying to places because I was like, damn, I really want an internship. And yeah, these are the tips and tricks that I kind of followed that helped me get my first software engineer-esque related internship without having any experience at all. So going into the first tip, again, if you're wondering why I'm looking down at my crotch area, it's because I have my computer here and I'm looking down. So the first tip would just to have a decent resume / cover letter. I think that's really important because it's like the first steps a recruiter is looking at before they decide if they want to interview you or not. So of course, if you don't have a lot of experience, there's not a lot to write about on your resume, but you still want to try to put something on there. You don't want it to be empty because that's just not a good look. If you don't have a lot of stuff to put on your resume, I suggest putting school projects. Yeah, just going through the projects that you've done in school and figuring out which ones were your favorite ones or some ones that illustrate really core concepts, such as like, okay, maybe, so I took like a data structures class and I put some of my favorite projects I did in that class, and that really reflected like usage of data structures, so that type of stuff. So pulling from your CS classes like a few core projects. Most of them probably will be like your final projects you did for that class, because it's like a culmination of everything you learned from that like course. So those are like what I recommend. Also, if you put something on your resume, make sure that you actually know what it is / what you're doing. So say you're putting like a random language that you've never learned or don't really know much about, don't put that on your resume, because that's just gonna like wreck you in the interview. Because if it's on your resume, the person that's interviewing will expect you to know it. So don't put stuff on there, don't like lie, because that's just gonna make your heart a lot harder. Make your life a lot harder during the actual interview. Oh yeah, and I would suggest creating like a page describing those projects that you did. Recruiters or whoever is interviewing you is going to probably ask you about it. So just, you know, like think about if it was like a team project, what you did for it, like ups and downs, blah 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 blah, that type of stuff. And also if you are involved in any clubs at school. So for me, Big Gamer was actually in the League of Legends club at our school, and I managed to be an officer my freshman through senior year, so I had stuff to put on a resume about that. So if you're in a club at school and it's interesting, or you are pretty involved in that club, that's something that you can also put on your resume too. A lot of places will also ask you for a cover letter, so just kind of create a generic template one that you can kind of tweak based on where you're applying to. And yeah, that's the first tip. So these other tips kind of all like are very closely related and blend into each other, but I'll like try to break it down into more distinct sections. The second tip is to apply early. So you should be starting to apply for internships starting like when school starts out. So for me, that was fall quarter. A lot of big companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, or whatever have really competitive application processes, and their applications close early, like in December. So if you really want to go to one of those companies, like obviously apply early. The earlier you start applying, the more companies you'll like apply to. Like that makes sense, right? Assuming that you're applying like every single day or every week you're applying to a new company. And if you start early, that'll increase your likelihood of places that you'll possibly have an interview opportunity. Yeah, and the second tip that's kind of similar is just like you should apply everywhere. So of course you want to get into those large companies, right? But if you don't have a lot of experience, it's a bit difficult to get noticed by them. So apply everywhere. So like big companies, small companies, startups, medium companies. But yeah, it's like important to have a goal, but be realistic as well. And also don't be discouraged, because a lot of these companies, they like to hire upperclassmen or like juniors, so they can like give them a full-time offer and convert them into full-timers from the internships. So yeah, don't be discouraged if they reject you. It's really important just to get something on your resume from like a large company or a small company. So this will definitely help you a lot the next time you apply for an internship, because they see you have experience and they like people with experience. So yeah, any type of experience is good, no matter from what size of the company. Next tip is to just set aside a time of a day to just apply for companies. Maybe you could apply to one company per day, or you know, you set a goal of, okay, I'm gonna find 5 places to apply to per day. But any number is better than 0, because you're making progress and you're expanding your pool of possibilities that like you might get an interview scheduled, because it's just like probability, right? Like the more places you apply to, the higher likelihood that someone will reach out to you, versus if you apply like one place, right? Next tip is that if you have a connection, make sure to use that connection. Yeah, connections are super important within this like tech industry world, where people that get referred are more likely to get hired than someone that's just like a random referral. So don't be afraid or embarrassed to reach out to someone that you know that's like working in a company that you want to work for, that has an opening. So yeah, just reach out to them. My junior year, I actually helped refer one of my friends to the company that I worked at my sophomore year summer. So connections, very good. Alrighty, so say you somehow snagged a interview opportunity. So, oh my gosh, some recruiter reached out to you even though you have no experience. What now? So my first tip for that would be to brush up on LeetCode code and common data structures. So for LeetCode code, you're probably okay with doing like the easy questions and maybe some medium ones. They won't expect a lot out of you since you don't have any experience. But yeah, LeetCode code questions are very weird and like not like anything you learn in school, and those are the type of questions they ask you in interviews. Unfortunately, that's just how it is. But yeah, exposing yourself to those type of questions is very, very beneficial, because sometimes they'll ask you a question and if you've never seen that type of question before, you will just not know how to answer it. But that type of exposure will definitely help you in case they ask like a similar type of question, and since you've seen it before, you'll be more prepared to answer it. But again, like have a goal each day, like okay, every day I'm going to just look at one LeetCode question. That is amazing, because you know there's 365 days in a year. You do one a day and then you have 365 problems in your back pocket. Like again, like don't underestimate the like how little one seems, but one is always greater than zero. Brain explosion. So keep that in mind. Like I said, common data structures, so stacks, queues, linked lists. People really love hash tables, so just keep an eye out for those and just be familiar with that type of stuff. And trees too, I think, are another common data structure. Another thing is to research and understand the role that you are being interviewed about. So just make sure you read up on the job description, and you can maybe try to ask the recruiter for more questions or clarifying answers about like the role or what to expect during the interview, because they want you to succeed too, so it's pretty sure they get like a commission if you actually get hired. So yeah, just make sure to have a good relationship with your recruiter and ask them for questions, and yeah, just make sure you know what you're getting into during the interview. And I think a lot of places, if they're like a large company, people will post like interview questions that they've had previously about them, so try to search for those. Like they have it along Reddit. I think Glassdoor is another good resource for that too. Next piece of advice is practice makes perfect. So ask somebody you know, like a friend, your parent, I don't know, somebody you know, to help mock interview you, so they can give you feedback about you know your questions or how you sound. And if you don't have like a friend or somebody, or if you're too embarrassed, you can record yourself interviewing. So I don't know, speaking out loud is a lot different than doing stuff in your head. So record yourself, talk to yourself if you don't have anyone to practice interviewing with, and speak slowly. Try to do your best to be conscious to not use stuff like that type of stuff. It's really hard because I'm pretty sure I said those like annoying little, see I just did it again, those annoying little filler parts of a sentence or filler parts when you talk. It's really hard to break habits, but just try to be conscious of that because it just makes you sound not as professional. Me, who probably did it 100 times in this video. Rip my credibility, am I right? Can't follow my own advice, hypocrite. Okay, anyways, but the last thing is just don't get discouraged and just persevere. I know that sounds super cheesy, but the CS, like technology, I don't know, CS world is very, very competitive, and it's tough. It's very tough, and it can get you down, especially when you keep on getting rejection after rejection. But yeah, just be proud of yourself, because I think if you're doing computer science stuff already, that's awesome, because this shit is hard, and give yourself a pat on the back.
Hey guys, it's Editing Lulu here again, back with some juicy content I forgot to mention. But basically, I received my first internship offer letter at the end of May, like right at the end of May, and school ends around the beginning of June. So actually, just don't give up and keep applying, because you never know what opportunities might be there even at the end of the school year. So just keep a lookout and yeah, keep applying.
And yeah, if they decide not to move on with their interview process, don't be so hard on yourself and just take it as a learning experience. Try to write down the questions that they asked for you so you can refer back to them, and you know, kind of keep a little list of stuff. Those might be questions the other interviewers will ask you even from a different company. Just try to keep track of stuff that you get asked, and I guess even like hacker rank question type of stuff. Yeah, so keep a compilation of all that stuff so you can look back on it. It's just a really great resource for yourself. And remember to keep in mind that this is not a reflection of your self-worth or intelligence whatsoever. I can guarantee you the stuff they ask you on interviews is definitely not what you do on an everyday basis at work. It kind of sucks that this is how they filter people through. It's just like leak code questions, like weird stuff. Like, you don't see that in your day-to-day work whatsoever, but unfortunately that's just how the system works. And yeah, there needs to be a reformation. We need to change. We better protest. We better protest this. Yeah, everyone loses their jobs. Okay, but sorry, just ignore me. But yeah, there will be a company out there for you. I believe in you guys. Yeah, so those are my tips that helped me get an internship when I had absolutely nothing. Hopefully this video was slightly helpful. I don't know. Please let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to answer them. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys later. Bye. Why does my face look like somebody just like punched me 5 times? Well, it's probably because I just went out and got this. Your interview process like moved on. What the fuck does that even mean?